Is social media ruining the way we experience sport? It's a big question, I know, but lately I've been thinking about how much has changed. Not just in triathlon or cycling or swimming, but in how we share it and what that sharing is doing to the people living it. Because I've felt it. I felt the pressure to post after every ride, to try and make every session look epic, to have race photos ready before my legs have even stopped cramping. It's like you're not just racing anymore, you're also producing content, building a brand, selling a lifestyle. And it can suck the joy right out of it. I've been that guy, staring at my phone more than the finish line, wondering if the clip was good enough, instead of being proud of what I just did. And when I see young athletes now, already chasing deals, shaping themselves into influencers at 17, I start to wonder, are we setting them up to love this sport? Or are we accidentally turning something beautiful into just another feed to scroll through? This isn't a rant. It's not about shaming anyone. It's just a question. And it's a question that's been on my mind for a while now. And maybe it's time we start talking about it. Let's be real. Sport used to be about showing up and doing your best, having fun, pushing yourself, sometimes even suffering a bit, and then going home with a good story, some sore legs, and maybe a medal. Now, it's starting to feel like that isn't enough. You're expected to document it, film it, edit it, caption it, and if you don't, it's like it never happened. You could have the best race of your life, but if you didn't post about it, did it even count? This is where things get muddy, especially for younger athletes. They are growing up in a world where every workout is content. Every training day is a chance to build a following. And it's wild to think about how quickly that mindset takes over. Eventually you stop training for you and you start training for the feed. You start wondering how your heart rate looks on Strava, if your kit is sponsor worthy, or if you're marketable enough for a brand to notice you. And it's not their fault, it's the system that they're stepping into. I've caught myself thinking the same way, planning rides around good light, wondering if my pace will look respectable enough to screenshot, or feeling like I wasted a session because I didn't get a good clip for Instagram. And when that stuff becomes priority, it takes something beautiful and turns it into pressure. Quiet pressure. The kind that builds and builds until suddenly you aren't even sure why you're doing it anymore. It's performance in more ways than one. Not just the race, but the whole life around it becomes something to package, filter, brand. And I think we're losing something important in the process. The silliness, the spontaneous fun, the messy parts, the long rides where nothing happens except you feel better at the end. And that's what I miss, and that's what I want back. Let's talk about brands and this whole sponsorship thing. Because on the surface, it sounds amazing. You're a young athlete, a company slides into your DMs, offers you a partnership, maybe even sends you a discount code and a bit of free gear. You feel seen, feel legit, you feel like you've made it. But what's really happening? You're doing marketing for free, or maybe for a discount. You're shaping your image to match a brand that probably wouldn't notice if you ghosted them tomorrow. You're filling your feed with logos, tagging companies, repping products, sometimes stuff you don't even really use, because it makes you feel part of something. And look, I get it. It feels cool. I've been there. I've worked with brands. I've done the whole ambassador thing. But here's the truth. When the trade-off is your authenticity or your enjoyment or your focus, it's not worth it. The line gets blurry real quick. Are you racing for you, or are you racing because your sponsor needs a podium pick? Are you posting because you love what you're doing, or because your code hasn't been used this month? And it's not just athletes. Some brands are really clever about how they dangle these opportunities, especially towards young people who are just stoked to be noticed. They frame it as a big break, but most of the time, it's just marketing dressed up as validation. It's the same energy as those collab opportunities that are really just glorified discount codes. You're not being sponsored, you're being used to push product, and the worst part is, they make you feel grateful for it. What gets lost in all of this is the why. Why did you start racing? Why did you love the sport? Was it to wear 5 logos and post training selfies every day? Probably not. The best athletes I know, they care more about community, consistency, and connection than clicks. They're out there grinding because they love it, not because they're waiting on a new kit drop to go live. And I think we need more of that energy, more realness, more honesty, more athletes doing it for the love, not the likes. If you're a brand watching this, sponsor people because you believe in them, not because they fit your grid. And if you're an athlete, don't trade your spark for a coupon code. If I could sit down with 16-year-old me, the version just getting into the sport, figuring things out, I'd start with this. Don't lose the fun. Not everything has to be a stepping stone to something bigger. Not every ride needs to be tracked. Not every run needs to be posted. Not every moment needs to be turned into content. It's okay to do things just because you enjoy them. That doesn't make them less valuable. If anything, it makes them more valuable. I'll tell them, you don't need a sponsorship to feel valid. You don't need to impress strangers on the internet. The real flex is sticking with something long enough to truly love it, even when no one is watching. I'd say your worth as an athlete, your worth as a person has nothing to do with how many followers you have or how many brands want your email. It's about showing up for yourself, for your teammates, for the love of the game. Because the reality is the pressure never really stops until you decide to step off the treadmill. And the sooner you realize that, the more you protect your joy, protect your identity, and you protect your longevity in this thing. I'd remind them that sport is supposed to give something to you, not take from you. And if it starts feeling like work, like a performance, like you're building a persona instead of building yourself, step back and reassess the whole thing. And I'll probably laugh as well and say, you're allowed to go off grid sometimes. No one is going to forget that you exist. If you're young and watching this, just know that you're allowed to love this thing quietly. You're allowed to play. You're allowed to not post, and you're still 100% legit. So what now? For me, it's about returning to why I started this in the first place. Riding, training, racing. Not for posts or for partnerships, but because it's who I am. It makes me feel alive. That doesn't mean I won't share anymore. I love making videos. I love connecting with people through the sport, and I love this little community we've built here. But my goal now is not to chase relevance. It's to stay real. It's to create things that matter to me and hopefully to some of you watching. I'm not here to bash social media. I've had great experiences from it. Some of the coolest connections I've made have come from sharing my journey. But I think there's room to be more mindful about how we're doing it and why we're doing it. Because if we don't stop and ask those questions, we might end up building something that looks good on the outside, but feels hollow on the inside. So I guess this is my little reminder to myself, and maybe to you, that it's okay to unplug a bit. It's okay to post less. It's okay to not be on all the time. And it's definitely okay to turn down a brand deal if it doesn't feel right. If you're an athlete feeling that pressure, just know that you're not alone. And if you're a brand watching this, maybe think about what kind of culture you're encouraging. Are you supporting athletes, or are you just squeezing value out of them? This is a conversation I think we need to have more often. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you felt pressure too? Have you stepped back? Or do you feel like you can't? What would you tell your 16-year-old self if you had the chance? Let's talk about it. Let's learn from each other. Let's try to make the space a little healthier, a little more human. And hey, if this hit home for you, tap the like button, leave a comment, and maybe share this with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe if you're not already. We're keeping it real around here. This isn't just a channel, it's a space to be honest, and I'm glad you're here.